Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the potential for a very lively Sunday coming up, as it is looking likely that we will be seeing some big thunderstorms and some very heavy rain as well. Now we've been seeing our fair share of thunderstorms in the last week to 10 days, being very intense in places. Sunday is looking slightly different to what we have had recently. We're seeing low pressure moving up from the south and developing over the top of us within hot and humid air that is getting wafted up within the next 36 hours. So we're likely to see pop-up storms initially, but eventually these storms forming into a more centralised area of low pressure with wider, heavier rain as it moves northwards. Now, we'll be able to show you that on the precipitation charts in a minute, where we initially see those severe thunderstorms breaking out, and then we see a wider area of heavier rain developing. So it is a bit of a complex situation. We'll run through some various short-range charts today. Look at the UKV, the WRF, and the R-pairs run, as they do have different scenarios exactly how it's playing out. But we do have a yellow Met Office warning issued for thunderstorms, quite a widespread warning, as there still is a lot of uncertainty exactly how it will play out. It's looking highly likely we see thunderstorms, highly likely many areas see heavy rain, but exactly where the heaviest rain will be, the most intense thunderstorms will be, still yet to be determined. So we'll have a look at that in today's video, and in tomorrow's video we'll do even more dedicated view, looking at even more short range models at the risk of some real substantial rainfall and thunderstorms through Sunday. So do remember, if you enjoy videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So do start on the live radar. You can see for most of England, Wales and Scotland, it's another dry and warm day. Some areas still just about touching heatwave thresholds, but most areas easing back towards the mid-20s. But out to our west, you see quite big areas of rain developing through parts of the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. This is a precursor which is coming for all areas through Sunday. Heavy rain developing here, moving slowly northwards, but not really moving eastwards. So most of mainland Britain is going to be staying pretty dry. You can see out to our southwest some heavy thunderstorms starting to break out just off the coast of southwest England, but once again shouldn't make too much of an impact in the next 24 hours. Could still be some thunderstorms in places, but the real big impacts we're looking for Sunday. So rain starting to appear in the west, and this is the signs that instability is moving back in, but just some areas of moderate to heavy rain at this stage. Nothing too severe yet, but that is just slowly heading our way. Still got high pressure in control, but the lower pressure out to our south and our west is starting to push in. Now, if we put on the temperatures today, as of around 4 p.m, once again you can see for mainland Britain it is another very warm day, widely mid-20s, touching maybe high 20s in a few isolated spots, but it's up and down the country in a very warm air mass. Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland and parts of Wales cooler today, as we do have more cloud and some of those areas of rain around. But warm weather will continue, and it could even get slightly hotter in places over the coming days, as all this instability moving up from the south is being caused by hot and humid air returning, quite a hot air mass coming up from the south. Temperatures perhaps peaking around that 13 to 15 degree mark at 850 HPA, which without rain, without thunderstorms, could give temperatures as high as 30 to 32 degrees. And there is the risk of that in a few spots if we do avoid those thunderstorms, especially through early afternoon on Sunday, and perhaps into parts of early next week as well. But we will have to see what the UKV has in a minute for that. If we do go for the weather warnings, we do have the thunderstorm warning issued now for Sunday from all 24 hours of Sunday here. So quite a broad warning, and likely to be narrowed down nearer the time. So you can see from, as I said, 24 hours of Sunday, heavy rain and thunderstorms on Sunday will bring a chance of disruption to parts of England and Wales. Again, it's a bit of a wishy-washy warning, because we are still 48 hours out, about 36 hours now actually, out from this event taking place. But you can see heavy showers and thunderstorms are likely to develop across parts of England and Wales during Sunday, with longer spells of thundery rain in places. So I must say, from what I'm seeing in the latest models, the emphasis is on the rainfall here. There will still be some severe thunderstorms around, but from what I'm seeing from the latest models, I don't think it will be as electric and as intense locally. I think it will be more widely intense and more widely severe, but I don't think we'll see those absolute torrential local downpours and local thunderstorms like we did see earlier this week and last weekend, but we will see wide areas of an inch or two of rain. So you can see here, while many areas will see at least some rain, most will only see relatively small amounts. Again, still 10-20 millimetres is possible, quite a large area. However, some places could see 30 millimetres in an hour or 60 millimetres in 6 hours. So 30 millimetres in an hour because a thunderstorm passes through, and 60 millimetres in an hour is because heavy thundery rain develops. So not intense downpours locally, but a large area of heavy torrential rain. With the potential for frequent lightning, strong winds and hail also. Where this occurs, there is likely to be some disruption. While there is high likelihood that thunderstorms will develop over England and Wales, there remains a large amount of uncertainty in exactly where these develop, and that's why the warning is still large, and the uncertainty is likely to remain up to short lead times. So let us don't think that we'll have a much better picture even as we do head up to the immediate hours prior to the event. So we'll have to see what exactly develops. At this stage, the models are a slight disagreement exactly what could break out, but they're all roughly on the same trend of thunderstorms breaking out in the afternoon, turning into a more general, broader area of rain as it moves northwards through the afternoon into the evening. If you wanted to check up on the latest temperatures, as I said today, widely mid to high 20s. See here, all the top 20 temperatures today, up and down the country from 26 to 27 degrees. So a broad mid-20s region. And you can see the top temperature, as of around 3 p.m, is Aviemore up in Scotland. So Highlands of Scotland seeing some of the top temperatures here, 27.4 degrees. So another very warm day and just about touching heatwave thresholds in some of those northern and western regions. So do now have a look at the thunderstorm risk and go over to the UKV, see what it is showing. So you can see for the rest of this afternoon, a few thundery showers breaking out in the west and some of that heavier rain across the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland spreading through. And through this evening, you could see some more rain hitting parts of southwest England, South Wales and the Republic of Ireland. But as we head through Saturday afternoon, those showers will remain in the west. We're not seeing them push particularly far eastwards, just perhaps some general areas of cloud. As I said, most of this heavy rain and thundery rain appearing over Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland here. So thunderstorm risk does reignite, perhaps at times today, but we're not really seeing on the live radar, but definitely tomorrow in the far west. But it's widely into Sunday, things do become extremely lively. So you can see, as we head into the early hours, could be some very heavy rain appearing in the southeast initially. You can see some very heavy rain skirting the far southeast there. Showers further north and westwards, but look what happens around midday on Sunday. Some very heavy rain in the southeast moves away, and then by 3 p.m, heavy thunderstorms breaking out widely. And again, looking quite scattered, looking quite locally intense. But move on 3 hours until 6 p.m. Still big thunderstorms around, but they start to join up more into larger areas of rain. Still very intense through those central southern areas. And by 9 p.m, losing their intensity a bit as they head through northern England and the Midlands, but turning into a more broader area of rain. And by midnight, into quite a large mass of precipitation heading northwards with still some very torrential, thundery rain within it. So initially breaking out as thunderstorms, then developing into a larger area of rain. So this could be a very interesting system. Could see another mesoscale convective system breaking out here as we go from the development of thunderstorms to a more complex area of low pressure. Normally these transitions happen out to sea, out in the Atlantic, but this is happening over land. So it's very unpredictable and very difficult to say exactly what will happen with this. Could be a lot of rain falling in a short period of time in some of these regions. So not only will we see those intense thunderstorms, but we'll see frontal rainfall developing as well as the system does continue through. That rain does clear to the north of Scotland by Monday afternoon, and then we see another day of scattered thunderstorms. Not quite as severe, not quite as widespread, but scattered through many regions. And then into Tuesday could be another day of scattered showers, but mainly across Scotland, Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. So still a little bit lively as we head through Monday and Tuesday, but nowhere near as lively as Sunday is looking. Now, the reason for this is because we're seeing a push of warm air combined with low pressure. You can see the upper air temperatures down towards the southeast, peaking around that 13 to 15 degree mark through Sunday, and that is fueling the low pressure moving in. If we look at the dew points, look at those dew points in the southeast, 18 or 19 degrees, extremely oppressive dew points. Some of the heat waves we've had over the past few years, with temperatures getting into the mid-30s, or even high 30s and 40 degrees like we saw last summer, dew points there reaching 20, 21 degrees. So it's very hot and humid air, but that is just fueling the thunderstorms and the rain that does accompany that. So it's going to feel oppressive, it's going to feel humid, and even if those temperatures aren't insanely high where you are, it's going to feel muggy out there because of this hot, humid air mass with those high dew points. Now, if you look at the max temperatures this afternoon, widely sort of 25 to 28 degrees, so UKV thinks we could reach 28 in somewhere, but looking likely 25 to 27 is the top temperature. As we head through Friday into Saturday, likely once again to see temperatures rise to around the 24, 25 degrees, so not quite as warm, probably the coolest day we've seen in around a week, but still pretty decent, and the reason for that is more extensive cloud cover holding those temperatures down. Into Sunday, it's another warm, muggy day, but we've got those thunderstorms breaking out, so temperatures rising. By midday, we could see 27 to 28 degrees in a few spots, but not rising too much beyond that, simply because the cloud and thunderstorms develop. As we head into Monday, we should still have some muggy air around, so East Anglia 28, 29, could see an isolated 30, but once again that air will be slowly getting swept away, and by Tuesday could still see mid to high 20s or even a 30 degree across East Anglia, but most areas are set back out into the mid 20s. If you look at the mixed level Cape from the UKV here, you can see through Sunday there are higher levels of Cape developing, definitely, but nothing insane, and not exactly what we saw last weekend or early this week. So that's why I'm definitely a little bit more sceptical over the intense localised thunderstorms. I do think there will be thunderstorms embedded, but will it be the insanely high lightning rates we saw last weekend, big hail, very gusty winds? I'm more inclined to say it's going to be less of that, but more widespread torrential rain developing here. So more of a rainfall issue on Sunday than of lightning and hail and those thundery components. But they will still be there, they will still be in places, but perhaps not quite as much as they were the thunderstorms last week. If you move over to the WRF and have a look what that's showing for the precipitation and the Cape, so if you start with the Cape, through Saturday, you can see the thunderstorms potentially developing further westwards through Saturday. We've got high levels of Cape there, but nothing too insanely high. As we progress into Sunday, we do see Cape break out through central regions, so we do see some higher Cape, especially through the early evening, through East Anglia, so we could see some intense thunderstorms there, but once again, not quite as high as last week. So again, I'm more inclined to say heavier rain than intense localised thunderstorms from this. But Cape's still there, so we're still likely to see thunderstorms breaking out within this. If you look at the precipitation from this, again, as we head through Sunday afternoon, initially seeing thunderstorms break out, showery precipitation break out, and then turning to a larger area of rain through the evening, and some very heavy rain spreading into Scotland there, widely seeing rainfall rates reaching 5 to 10 millimetres an hour. And if we look at the accumulated precipitation here, again, we're noticing minimal rainfall across much of England over the course of the next couple of days. But as we head through Sunday afternoon, look at all those regions up and down the country, seeing green to brighter greens here. So showing, in around the 10 to maybe as high as 50 millimetres of rain, or even more in some regions. So again, those totals from the Met Office, 30 millimetres an hour, 60 millimetres over 6 hours. That's what we're seeing in some of these more intense zones, but widely seeing sort of 20 or 30 millimetres of rain. So quite considerable amounts. And again, falling to dry ground, it does mean that surface level water can build up faster. So we could be having a problem with some surface water flooding in some places. But equally, if we don't see that, it should be good for the garden. It should be good for some green areas. I know a lot of people out there, especially down in the southeast, we're seeing hosepipe bans now coming into force. But I think it's a bit ridiculous, really, considering, yes, we've had some sort of a dry last sort of 4 or 5 weeks, but we had plenty of rain through the spring, especially the middle to early parts of spring. So So I am surprised we're already seeing a hosepipe ban there for a considerable dry spell, but nothing completely out of the ordinary. But luckily we're going to see some widespread rain here, so it should hopefully top up those reservoir levels and top up green spaces as well. We do just finish by looking at the Arpège run. This is the convective overview here, so we have the cape and the precipitation rate on the same chart here. So if we do head over to Saturday, you can see cape in the west and some thunderstorms breaking out once again, but into Sunday. Initially, thunderstorms breaking out through the afternoon and then turning into a larger area of rain as it spreads northwards. Again, there is cape around, some considerable cape, especially to the western of these regions, but nothing quite as high as last weekend once again. So definitely looking likely to be some thunderstorms breaking out. Guaranteed pretty much to see some very heavy rain. But will it be those intense high lightning rates that we saw last weekend? I'm not seeing it here, especially from the Arpège, and even the other two runs a little bit more sceptical. UKV definitely showing some torrential rain and the risk of thunderstorms, but the WRF not quite showing that either, not quite showing that same as the Arpège. So we will just have to see what happens. As the Met Office warning said, it's very volatile at this stage and things could change. But for what I'm seeing at the moment, definitely looking like very heavy rain on Sunday, definitely looking likely to be some thunderstorms in places, some general thundery rain, but will we see those intense localised thunderstorms? Will we see some multi-cell systems develop? I'm a bit sceptical of that at this stage. A different type of system coming in on Sunday. Still very lively. Still could be some big impacts. But I think it's going to be widespread impacts instead, or sort of moderate level impacts over a wide area, than high impacts over very short areas as well, small areas. So we will just have to see. And of course, we'll have another update coming out tomorrow on this, but we'll have a look at even more precipitation charts for this. If you finish by just looking at the GFS and the ensembles, as there have been some rumblings about a heat wave, or a more intense heat wave arriving by the end of the month, because of course we have technically seen a heat wave over the last week or so. Many areas are sort of petering out right now. Those temperatures dipped towards the mid-20s, but many areas saw 3 to 5 days of heatwave thresholds being broken. Have seen some people being sceptical of those heatwave thresholds. Again, 28 degrees in London isn't that insanely hot for London, but it is the official Met Office heatwave threshold, and we did breach that on a good 4 or 5 days, depending on your exact area across southeast and eastern England, and of course many other areas breached their heatwave thresholds as well. So we are technically just coming out of a heatwave, and again, some regions may actually still hold on to heatwave status today, and maybe tomorrow. So we could actually see sort of a week-long heatwave in some regions. But again, we're getting into technicalities here. Technically, we have seen a heatwave, but a more intense heatwave. Some people are speaking about sort of mid-30s towards the end of the month. So it's always important to check up on the longer range run, see if we're seeing any signs of that. We can see the low pressure moving in at the moment, and that's giving us a southerly flow, hot and humid air moving in, but thunderstorms developing. And you can see that green developing just off the coast of northern Scotland, and that's that low pressure through Sunday evening into Monday developing. Very lively system developing out up towards Iceland. So a low pressure system developing over the UK. And that's why there's so much uncertainty. And that's why it could be so lively as well. Beyond that, we stay generally low pressure out to our west, but always trying to pull up a southerly or southwesterly flow, so remaining potentially warm at times. And there is a risk into the longer term. We build a bit of a heat dome across Europe. There's hints of it here around day 10. But it doesn't really last all too long, and eventually actually start to waft in northerly winds here with low pressure off towards Scandinavia. Again, not really seeing this within most runs and most ensemble members, but it's appearing here on the latest GFS. You can see at day 10 though, I don't want to concentrate on the upper air temperatures too much, don't want to make the video too long. We'll have a look at the ensembles in a bit that give us a good overview. But this is the typical pattern of a bit of a heat dome. You can see the 15 degree isotherms getting wafted up, potentially just about reaching the south coast, and the 20 degree isotherm reaching northern France here, up towards the UK. Not quite getting towards the UK because low pressure and the jet stream flattens it out. But this is the sort of pattern that some people are picking up on, some models are picking up on, as well as potentially developing in the last week of June, where we see very hot air wafting up from much of Europe and potentially impacting the UK. And we could see something, interesting there if this did move in. 20 degree isotherm moves in, likely to see mid-30s. Now finish by looking at the ensembles for London. For the latest GFS, you see the peak and upper air temperatures over the coming days, up to around that 13 degree mark. Hot and humid air moving in, and seeing heavy rain and thunderstorms developing with it. Beyond that, upper temperatures still generally above average, but only a few degrees above average, and we get down to sort of the mid-20s once again next week. Around the last few days of June, this way of uncertainty, some of those very hot runs appearing up towards the mid to high teens, and even one getting up towards 20 degrees there. So not too many, but some going hotter, back towards proper heat wave levels. Others going cooler, a bit more volatility in the longer term, seeing the operational run that goes very cool right at the end. But always precipitation remaining, so definitely looking likely to continue the threat of thunderstorms and general showers as we do progress through the rest of June. But the big headline is still remaining above average, still remaining warm. I'll be very interested to see the stats by the end of this month, to see those temperatures. Could be over some very interesting temperatures, overall monthly temperatures, as we do head towards July. The 2 meter temperatures are looking very warm, widely mid-20s over the coming weeks. Again, likely to be slightly higher and some days slightly lower depending on precipitation, cloud and sunshine amounts, but we'll have to exactly pinpoint that nearer the time. And some very hot runs in the longer term, one getting up to 35 degrees there. Again, we'll have to keep an eye on that in the longer term. You can see the dew points really peaking the next day or two, up towards sort of 16 degrees on some runs, before dropping down towards sort of 10 or 12. And I know that doesn't sound too much of a difference, it's sort of 5 or 6 degrees, but it does make a big difference to the feel-like temperature, and it also it just shows you the instability in the hot and humid air that we do have move in, the energy and sort of water vapour available. Do finish by just looking at the ECMWF on summer members. Again, a little bit of a peak this week, not quite as a succinct peak, but a lot more precipitation from the ECMWF here. Temperatures cool off for the next working week, and then we do potentially see a pickup right towards the end of the month. Some very hot runs, but all equally some more average or cooler runs. Very interesting in the ECMWF on summer members here. Very few are below average. It looks like there's a proper it looks like this ensemble chart's just been added sort of 3 or 4 degrees onto it, considering how many of these are above average. Pretty ridiculous how persistent and consistent these ensemble members are above average. Very interesting seeing that. So a continuation, as I said, of a hot June. The last thing I do want to have a look at is if we actually just have a look at Paris. Now, as we saw on the GFS ensemble members, we did see some intense heat potentially moving into parts of France. Now, of course, Paris is a different climate, so more up and downs, but you can appear into the last few days of June. There's maybe 5, maybe as many as 10 getting towards the high teens or 20 degree mark, and this would be the sort of pattern that does build in a proper sort of heat dome where we see some intensely hot conditions. We'll have a look at their 2 meter temperatures in a second, but yeah, 22 degrees here, and this is getting sort of towards the air mass that would sort of threaten high 30s, maybe even 40 degrees. So intensity is in some of the ensemble runs, heading towards Northern Europe, probably in about a third to a quarter at this stage. Nothing too succinct, but you have to keep an eye on it. And the 2 meter temperatures, you can see those temperatures rising towards the mid-30s here in the longer term. And again, these are the midday and 6 p.m. temperatures, so they're not capturing the 3 p.m. temperatures, which are likely to be a few degrees higher. So sort of mid to high 30s appearing here from some runs, emphasis on some. So there is a little bit of evidence towards a perhaps heat period, a hot period towards the end of the month, a proper hot period, so mid-30s, or maybe even higher. But at this stage, not too much evidence, so I wouldn't look at that in too much detail at this stage. Got to get through the thunderstorm risk over the next few days, and generally finish out the rest of June on a very warm and potentially still quite lively note. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe out there, especially through Sunday, as it is going to be quite a lively day. And I'll see you again for another video soon.